there are people who don't. right, we're live.
Time to go.
Yep.
Anne Marie says it's 6 o'clock, so we will start. You've got all the current members of the committee here and our ex officio, our staff, excuse me, our council liaison is here on TV.
And I'm here for Janet.
Okay. All right, item 1. Approval of the minutes. Y'all got your minutes in the packet, questions, comments, changes, snide remarks?
I do have one under old business, number 1. And it says that I stated that we needed 5 more sharrows on Savannah Road, but it was just more sharrows. There wasn't a definitive number on that.
Okay. So that's a dealie.
And other than that, I'm good. I don't
Motion to approve?
make a motion to approve the minutes.
Okay, that was a second. You moved. Second, all in favor, aye.
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 Very good.
All right, next item, old business, update on ongoing projects.
I've got a bit of a list here. The silent policeman, DelDOT has sent us the draft agreement. Janet and I are in the process of reviewing it. So we should be able to sign this and have the silent policeman up this spring. And those locations are Savannah Road and BB Avenue, Savannah Road and American Legion Road, Savannah Road and Manila Avenue, and Kings Highway and the Lewes Georgetown Trail crossing. So the bicycle master plan, based on the communication I've received, the consultant hasn't received the formal notice to proceed, but they have been, pre-planning in the background, and they are planning to schedule a kickoff meeting, which would hopefully be a meeting with this body in February. So when we get some dates from them, we'll send those dates out to you. Crosswalks, we had Matt Carter from the T-Square Center up at the University of Delaware come down and go around with us, and we did a review of the city crosswalks. So I think the priority for the coming year, most of the work is going to have to be contracted out because it needs to be thermoplastic. The ones that seem, unfortunately, the ones that seem to be in the worst condition are those that were most recently done. The paver crosswalks on Front Street and at Front and Savannah. So those will be the higher priority. We're going to look to see if we can do a temporary striping of the ones that are very badly faded on Third. But then look to bring in the contractor to do those next year. And then we are going to have like a regular schedule for freshening up crosswalks. The sidewalk replacement plan, we are going out for bid in early February, and the areas that we're looking at with that are 4th Street, closer to the hospital. I'm trying to think, BB Avenue, and there are some pieces on Savannah Road, Chip. Some of them were the ones that you brought up. The one in front of the Beacon Motel that people have lamented for a number of years. So again, that'll go out to bid in early February. And then when we get the bids in, we'll see where we go. The sharrows, we do need to add to the striping plan. What I am not sure is if they need to be done in thermoplastic or if they can be done in paint. If they can be done in paint, we can do them in-house, but I think on Savannah Road, we will need a DelDOT permit. So, and then while it hasn't really been before this committee, we are working with the school district to have them widen the path that will go behind the Lewes Elementary School from Sussex Drive to George H.P. Smith Park. When, we talked, obviously, everyone's aware of the issue with Mariners Retreat. And, the big need brought up there was to have a way to get cyclists from that area of town to the downtown area without going on Savannah Road. So we are working with the school district to have them widen. There's a portion that was planned to be 8 feet that we're looking to widen to 10. And then there's a portion that was planned at 5 feet that we're looking to widen to 10. So that's that.
Question, is that the path between like this, where the farmer's market was and the two on the side of the school next to the park there, along the fence, there was a path. Yeah.
That's a portion of it, but it will go from Sussex Drive. They're going to have a crosswalk to get from what's going to be the middle school across Sussex Drive. And there's a path that will go between the ball fields. There's 2 sets of ball fields, so it'll go in between them. So it's
Good.
It's through the school property, and then it'll tie into the path that is at George H.P. Smith Park.
Okay, thank you.
So
How wide is the path that George has been?
well, I think I'm not sure that specific piece. So I think once it gets to that point, we need to figure out what the best way to get to DuPont is. But it's only, once you get there, it's a very short stretch. We
No, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say, we just wanted to make sure that this got addressed before they built it, because if it's after they built it, it would cost a lot more.
Yes.
So there's no connection in the park at the moment. Just making sure that this one gets connected to the park. And then once it gets to the park,
Right,
improve it from there.
right. I mean, there's a path, but I don't know that I don't think it's
Yeah.
a wide path at that point.
Okay. Thanks.
I do have a question about the thermal plastic. Is that something that will be contracted out? Is that,
Yes.
okay? And I know it's common, it's everywhere. But is that better than a reflective paint that can be done more often? It seems to me once they start to deteriorate, and they're deteriorated all over town, they remain like that for years.
So, so we did, again, this is why we brought Matt from T Squared down, because this is kind of his wheelhouse. And that was kind of the big question I had for him. What are the things we should be doing with thermoplastic versus paint? And is paint a better solution? He did say that the thermoplastic is better for those. And even the crosswalks that exist, he believes are thermoplastic. What he suspects, and again, we don't know, was with those where the concrete bands are on the paver crosswalks, that is all new concrete. So it's very likely that they put down a curing agent. And if they put the thermoplastic over the curing agent, it kind of is a wax type product. So it's kind of a nonstick product. So that could have affected the adherence. And when you look, I mean, Tim, it wasn't a year and a half after Front Street was done that you and I talked about those. So I tend to think it should last 4 to 5 years. It shouldn't come up after a year and a half. So I think that's more about how it was done.
But it would be, excuse me for interrupting, I think Chip's point as well. Do I need to introduce myself?
I think we all know you.
I think Chip's point is very well made, and I think that it might be worth the a phone call or the research online to find out what the thermoplastic manufacturers installation requirements are or their specifications, and also what the useful life that they suggest, in other words, what their maintenance program would be.
Right, but that's why we brought down the T-Square Center and they also provided resources as well. What they've suggested is that we use DelDOT specification for thermoplastic and that, you know, again, that we are very specific that it needs to be applied under the correct conditions.
Right. The other thing, observation I'll share with you all, since we are talking about pedestrian related things at those crosswalks. I've noticed that the concrete band, if you will, that, you know, frames the, that concrete seems to be cracking and, you know, deteriorating at corner, chip, you know, I don't know if it's chips, not this chip, but chips. You know, anyway, there's deterioration in the concrete, and I've wondered if that is a result of possibly poor craftsmanship or, you know, what could be causing that? Because that's going to affect the integrity of this thermoplastic product.
So
Thank you.
in an ideal world, paving and concrete work would be done in dry, somewhat warm weather. If anybody remembers the Front Street project, we did not have those ideal conditions. So it is possible that, I mean, all of that, if you recall, it was,
Right.
let's get it done during the winter so that we're not disrupting summer. So it, you know, again, I'm not a pavement expert, but having reviewed it and taken some of the paving classes, that, you know, the further you get from the ideal conditions for placing materials, the more you're likely to,
Compromising the results.
exactly.
Right. Thank you.
Emery, do you know what was put down on Savannah and Cedar? What is that? Because that's not brick. What,
That is actually a thermoplastic
that whole
Faux-
piece is?
faux brick thing,
The
yes.
whole piece is, okay.
Yes. So I don't understand necessarily what they do. I just,
I mean, because right now, it's has the
It-
bright appearance that you want.
yeah, it looks
But
really
it
good.
looks like something that's going to be easier to maintain. I don't know.
Right. Let's hope. I mean, the one at American Legion has been there now for a couple of years and it remains in pretty good condition. So, I mean, I'd say good condition. So, again, that was not something they did in the winter. I think the challenge of trying to keep all of our road projects to the time of year when it's least ideal for paving creates a real challenge. You know, you can't do anything between May and what is it? May and October, and then it gets cold and wet. So.
Like shared time. Do not need another.
Emery, one question on the sharrows you talked about. We talked about at the bridge, the drawbridge. Is it a sharrow or something there to mark that it was like a bike for bikes there? Is
That was one of the areas that we talked about adding an additional
That's
sharrow.
the one- That's on, the
Mhm.
list. Oh, I didn't hear that when you said it. Okay.
Is
Great.
that sharrow actually going to be on the bridge?
I don't think we can do it on the bridge structure itself. Wherever we put them, we're going to have to get approval from DelDOT.
Sure, because I don't think there's a width in the bike lane on the bridge to support even a sharrow. So.
Oh, no, the idea of a sharrow is there is no bike lane.
There is no
It-
bike
it-
lane.
Well,
You, Mr. Driver, just deal with the fact that I'm in the middle of the lane. It's kind of what sharrow means.
And there is no bike lane on the bridge.
There is
Well,
not.
there
Yeah.
kind of is.
No.
No,
No.
there's no bike lane on the bridge.
If you talk to like
I know it
the
is.
bicycle program at DelDOT, they will tell you you should ride in the center.
Mhm.
You should ride in the center of the lane. You should not even try to go off to the side because that gives cars the illusion they can pass you and they really can't safely
Right.
pass.
Okay, thank you.
The purpose of the share is to remind people, the drivers of that, and also So I can point to the lady who yells at me for riding my bike there. Thank you.
Just to further on that about the churros, and I submitted a document from Rehoboth to Janet where they did 2.5 miles down there of churros.
Mhm.
And I'm going to say they're 200 to 250 foot apart. So it's
Okay.
clearly marking,
Right.
which really, when you think about it, comes to almost every intersection when you look at blocks. And that was just an example, and they're all painted. And I think it was called by White Stripe that did it, but straight line,
Straight line is who we use.
straight line. I'm sorry.
We do have staff who can do the painting. We don't have staff who can do thermoplastic, so.
Do we have staff that knows and understands all of this stuff about concrete, and thermoplastic and thermoplasty and all? difference?
I think more and more so when we had Matt Carter here, we had Rick Melendez, our maintenance supervisor was with me. And one of the other things I'm working with Matt on is developing a training course for municipal officials that would be like, I don't know, road maintenance for the non-engineer. And the idea is to send staff from my office or from the maintenance department, public works departments, whatever, from across the state to get this training, because most of our towns don't have an engineer on staff. So being able to do some of these things without having to bring in outside engineering assistance is kind of what we're going for. So so when Matt came down, he had kind of a dual purpose because.
Just one last thing on the Sharrows. The city of Newark had created it, Bike Newark. The city of Newark created a really nice video of Sharrows because they put Sharrows down Main Street. And they did a really nice video of the use of those Sharrows and how traffic should move.
And that's under what organization, please?
I'd have to look it up. I don't know whether it's on the city of Newark's website or whether it's Bike Newark's website.
Thank you. Thank you.
Excuse me, I don't know where my voice went today. You good?
I'm good.
Couple of things to throw in from me. The maps are on the update. I was long since hoping to come in here with something tonight or have something, but Janet and I are going to go meet with can't remember the gentleman's first name, Churchill. He did all the graphics for our previous maps. We finally have an appointment for Friday afternoon to start working on that. So whenever we get the electronic thoughts back, I can forward all the information to you guys.
Will's got his hand up.
Oh,
Hi, guys. Can you hear me?
yep.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I was simply just going to add that I know that various committees, including the Second Beach Parking Committee, did recommend or certainly recommend exploring more bike racks on Lewes Beach. And recently I met with Matt Carter about his services, and he independently brought that up as well, that there's just, he thought there was a lack of parking for bikes and bike racks on Lewes Beach. So I assume we're still talking about the comprehensive plan and updates and things like that. I would just throw that out there as something you may want to consider.
Well, so I think in the budget, one of the things that we looked at was trying to get some of the bike racks, so I guess we should update on the Second Street situation
Okay.
where council did approve
Yep.
the bike racks on Second Street, but not the ones on Market Street. And we're going to try to get as many of the racks as we can this fiscal year before April 1st to get that installed. And then the idea was that we were going to budget for more bicycle racks for next year, with the idea that the committee could decide whether it's the beach or other parks where we could add bike racks.
As far as I know, the latest, Janet will be ordering the racks for in front of Half Full shortly. And they will, I don't know how long it'll take for them to get in or all the rest of it, but you've got a place to put them
Mhm.
until we put them on the street. And that will come out of this fiscal year's budget. The budget that was sort of sent in, and I guess it's pending approval, it's been massaged by your staff, I'm sure, to put all the little numbers in the right little.
Right, but we haven't taken anything away.
Okay, well, that's fine. But that included an input for several more racks for future reference. So hopefully, if it all gets approved by mayor and council,
Right.
there will be money there for future racks.
Once we find a place for them.
Yeah, well, we can talk about that. Well, I don't know, we can jump around in the oil. We better stick with this.
Yes.
All right, so the maps, hopefully I'll have a meeting and have more for you before too horrendously long. I hope to have it this month. One other comment about the DelDOT master plan. Anne Marie mentioned that it's going to come along, but just to reiterate what I said 2 months ago and what I think you guys kind of agreed to, tell me if I'm wrong, is it would probably be beneficial to have a special meeting of this committee with them before any open hearings and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, and we actually have the consultants are on the Zoom, so they're listening and they understand that that's a priority, that this is really the group that steers that.
Okay,
Can I ask you a question on that?
yeah,
When we talk about the DelDOT master plan, then I hear comprehensive plan. Are these different? And,
totally different.
okay,
Yeah,
So this is the bicycle, the DelDOT master plan is the bicycle master plan that DelDOT is developing for us, that we will start the process. Again, they want to schedule a meeting with all of you in February,
yes.
so.
so that may involve calling a special meeting. So, all right. And on all these ongoing maintenance items, I'm scratching out my comments. The things we run into and we see that need fixing, maintenance might be a good idea. It's not a static list that we sent in last spring.
Right.
When we see more stuff, we can bring it to the attention of the city. Now, if you want to bring it to a meeting and then send it to the city, I don't know what would be the appropriate way to do it. But it's kind of incumbent on all of us to, we see something that needs fixing, say something, bring it back. Cause this, we've got an excellent response, I think, from the city now on what we see, but let's.
I think
Other
on that,
things are gonna break, like Tim's concrete.
Right.
That's something we should put on the list to have them take a look at and get back to us with at some point. Thoughts?
and I think that's good. Something later on to talk about further down on the agenda is how does that get tracked and what does that look like? Because if we're just individually sending emails to the city, and just like the things that have been submitted before, that we don't seem to have as a committee a comprehensive list somewhere that tells us what we've recommended and the status of that. And I think that maybe I might be looking at that a little bit different because you folks have been on the committee much longer than I, so kind of bring that archival information to the table, but for a new person, have no idea what recommendations have been made other than sort of what's anecdotally brought up in meetings. So it would be really helpful to have some sort of whether it's a table, Excel doc, whatever it is and if there's something new, you're out tomorrow and see something, if we make a recommendation, would like to see us log it somehow so that we know we made it and this is the status of it. It would just be helpful.
I agree. You want to say something? No, I believe Janet is keeping the list.
She is.
It would just be helpful for
And
us to have access to
would,
the
Yeah,
list.
there's no doubt. And there's not a lot of history or archival knowledge of this because this never happened before May
Right, agreed.
of last year. So we're in a changing learning process is how this information is being put to the city and then disseminated and dealt with.
So the silent policemen were just recommended last summer.
They
Because
were,
we have meeting minutes. that
they were
show from, like,
recommended in
2018.
November of 2021 was when that specific recommendation was approved.
Because we have meeting minutes that say they were June 13th, 2018. So that's where I'm just saying,
Right, but at that point, there were recommendations being made that we did not have a staff person assigned. And the recommendations were not coming to staff or even to be put on a council agenda. So it would be said in the meeting and then didn't go anywhere. So it was November of 21 when, I think it was November, but it was sometime in 21 or maybe 20, might have been 20. But whatever, it was later that it actually went as a formal recommendation and went on to a council agenda and then council approved it. And so we've been working on trying to improve that flow. So that, things are properly
absolutely.
tracked.
I just think we need to be part of that flow. So thank you.
Okay. All right, anything else?
I just wanted to respond, Khalil, whenever you would like to have an opportunity to go down on the beach and look at places, I would certainly like to go with you. You have a good knowledge because you live there.
Mhm.
Great.
You have one.
I'll take you up on that, Chip.
I've been walking down there quite a bit lately, looking at places myself. So with you having knowledge.
I've seen you all bundled up down there. I'll follow up with you.
Next item, we're down to item D, outreach events, 2023. What do we want to do? We've been doing the farmer's market for years, doing the libraries, whatever, I can't, peddling for the library, whatever
Looping.
that is, looping for the library, been doing that since it started. Occasionally setting up shop in a parking lot or along a trail and giving away stuff. Point being part of our charge of education. What do we want to do next year?
So I had some ideas, maybe just brainstorm, didn't have any specific. So kind of going back to something, going forward to something that's on the agenda when we talk about the existing Lewes Bike and Ped comprehensive plan. It talks about gaining public opinion. So I wondered if there might be some way to survey residents and visitors to engage with them. I know that in the past, I think the committee has done sort of a bike to work day and the mayor has been engaged in that. But since May is bike month, I wondered if we might want to do some sort of activity of some kind. Some small communities do what they call First Fridays, which is you go out on a couple of Fridays in the nice weather and lead social rides where you just lead people through the streets that are safe or a walking route, something like that, just give people a sense. I guess I was just whether we could do some additional bike safety events outside of Lewes Night Out. Lewes Bicycles did that night ride that I was disappointed they didn't engage with our committee in some way, or at least invite us. I didn't even know about it till I read about it in the Gazette that the city police led them at night. And it's
Mhm.
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think it would be great if we could partner with them in some way. But I guess I was just thinking of maybe we could and I don't have the examples to give, but maybe some ways we could engage the community without being at a table for folks to have to come to us, for us to go out to the community in some way, and whether we're walking or biking or whatever, and make it more of a little conversation, social, whatever it might be, and build some awareness for the committee at the same time. So.
I have a question, Mary.
You know the drill.
Can you put a little meat on the description of the survey that you suggested? please?
I don't,
Come on now, Mary, I know you better than that.
I don't really have an idea where that came from is, and it's a little later on the agenda,
Oh.
is but the comprehensive plan specifically speaks to this committee's engagement with the public and gathering feedback from visitors and residents. And that's where, whether it's survey, whether it's being out in the community,
Okay,
whatever
I
it might look like,
understood.
that's where that came
Okay,
from.
thank you very much.
I would expect that some sort of, and we've got our consultants online, so that's why I pulled that up. If they want to raise their hand, I don't know if they've gotten this far out in thinking, but I would expect that there would be some sort of survey or, true community engagement around the bicycle master plan. So,
Right.
so
Will that happen in the next couple months? I mean, it won't be complete for a while, right?
it will happen in the spring. I mean, it's not going to happen.
It should be one of the starting.
Yeah, I mean, I would say we're probably talking March, maybe April. Oh, hold on, Savannah is.
Okay. I didn't know it was going to be done that quickly. I thought it would take several months.
Savannah should be able to talk now.
I thought you were on maternity leave.
Not yet. Are you there, Savannah?
She's gone.
Hey, everyone.
She's
Her
just on
name's
the
up
camera.
there.
She's okay.
Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Ma'am.
Great. So, Anne Marie is correct. As of right now, we are planning to have a public workshop for the bicycle master plan towards the end of May, early June. We wanted to really make sure that we captured like the summer crowd. But we also had planned to do some surveying online in addition to that. I think planning that for April timeframe would be appropriate. And that could give us some good information to go into that public workshop. Mary brought up a great point with May being bicycle month. So if you guys wanted us to focus on that first public workshop in May, that's something we can certainly coordinate.
Understood. Is that something if we get together with you guys next month, we can finish out the plan and exactly what we
Yeah,
want to do?
I think that's Savannah, that's the purpose of kind of our kickoff meeting next month is to really kind of pound out the schedule and the methodologies, right?
Exactly. Yeah, we want to make sure DelDOT is on board with the same schedule. But I don't see anything. Like I said, that's what we had fleshed out from the beginning was end of May, early June for this public workshop. But yes, everything we can go over, make sure it aligns with you all and your priorities as well next month.
And would it be beneficial for us to come up with dates or should we wait for Jen Sinelli to reach out on dates?
If you all have dates and events, my feeling is always, let's go out to the community and meet them where they already are. So if there are things going on in town,
I was
that
thinking
people.
of the kickoff meeting.
Oh, sorry. For the kickoff meeting, yeah, we're kind of waiting to hear with
Yeah.
Jen. If you guys have a couple of ideas in mind, we can share them with her and
Yeah.
just make sure that it works with their schedule too.
So when you're talking about the kickoff meeting for the plan, we talked about a initial meeting with the group beforehand. Is that the kickoff you're talking about, or is
Yeah,
that?
that's the meeting
Okay.
with this committee
Okay.
and the group, and that's the one.
That's in February.
Yeah, it'll be next month and we're waiting for that side to
Okay,
come back with a date. Now,
Got
he kind of just suggested we could throw a date out there.
For a special meeting.
so that's what I'm suggesting, and maybe
Mhm.
while we're all here, maybe we say a date that might work, that works, and we can throw that out. That's what I would suggest that now.
You want to pick one?
We're talking about February, are we talking about, we're during
Yeah.
the week, of course,
Yes.
so. the 7th or the 8th or a Tuesday or Wednesday, 7th. Do you want to do it, Savannah, later in the month or earlier?
Yeah, I would say later in the month because we are still awaiting DelDOT and TP.
21st or the 22nd? President's Day is the 20th. 21st, 22nd.
So it's likely that Parks and Rec will end up meeting on the 21st because the 20th is the holiday, so. 22nd, the BPW meets.
Okay, 23rd.
23rd. I don't see anything on the calendar.
Our next this committee meeting on the 28th. Is that still of February, right?
March.
Oh, that's March. Okay. So 24th or 28th, I guess, is what we're down to now.
Right.
Fine. One other question. We're all retired. Anybody coming from Dover isn't, what a daytime?
I'm
meeting?
not.
No, you're.
Work full time. Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, it's evenings.
I think that for these types of meetings, and Savannah, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that typically we realize that to best serve the public, we're working outside of normal work hours.
Okay.
Yep,
Would you
yep,
agree?
that works for us.
So we're talking about, I'm sorry, 23rd or 28th?
I have 24th. Oh, yeah, 23rd. I wrote it down wrong.
Okay,
23rd or 28th. So if Savannah, if you can take those dates back to Jen and see if we can try to hone in on one of them, that would be good.
That might help.
Sure,
Yeah.
6.
Sometimes having a date out there by which you need to be prepared helps make it
Mhm.
happen.
Yeah. 6 PM for both of those.
Yep.
Works for us.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Yep.
So if we go back from the survey and understand that that's now part of the plan and the stakeholder group public meeting, would anybody be interested in doing like First Friday rides or walks or anything like that?
That sounds great. If you want to,
No, what? Tell me.
When I ride, socially, I don't ride socially. I just ride by myself normally. I wouldn't mind doing something like that, but my feeling is that we provide a place for the public to do the park and safe environment. And and then some situations where they can come to us when they have questions, like at the farmer's market and stuff. To me, I'm happy with that, but so I don't have a lot of input to what you're saying, but I would, if you twisted my arm, I would gladly
No,
participate.
no, well, I am not a social rider. I ride by myself, but I would go out once a month or once every other month. Just so the people in town know there is this committee, and when they want to know something.
How would we communicate to the public about something like this?
Well, I think the city has all sorts of mechanisms that it communicates with everybody. I think we have the Cape Gazette. I think there's Facebook. There's all those things that are out there. And I just think that this committee is not widely known. And I think that raising awareness for that would be great. Plus, I think that not everybody's going to walk up to a table and ask someone something that they don't know. And so maybe just having the opportunity to be out and be social. It might also give a chance to kind of make you more welcoming as a community. I guess
That's all true.
so.
Agree.
Chip, how do you
Together
feel?
some ideas and plans and send them to us, and
Sure,
you
I'd be
can,
happy
when
to.
you can email them to all of us for information only.
Okay. Chip, are you okay
No,
with that?
I'd be willing to give it a try, sure.
Yeah.
I'm a solo flyer, but
Mhm.
I try it one time.
Okay.
All right,
I'll ride alone together.
there you go. All right, anything else on outreach events? We can figure out what else we'll be doing.
Well, I don't, I mean, like I say, that's great ideas, Mary's, and I'm open to new things, but I think the farmer's market is something we should continue ourselves because it is a great outreach.
Mhm.
And you meet a diverse group of people, not only people that live here, but people coming to the market. So I think we should continue to do that. And if we just do that once a month or even every other month or whatever. So I think that's good.
Yeah, agree.
I agree. So we'll at least plan, we'll get something from Mary and we'll at least definitely plan on doing the farmer's market this year now. Very good. Anything else? New business. Item 1, review discussion of possible bike pedestrian comprehensive plan. This was a suggestion from Mary to put on the agenda, so it's here. So Mary, have at it.
So,
I warned you.
I'm sorry,
I warned you.
I know, you did last night. Let's full transparency.
Okay.
But also full transparency for folks, I am a process person, so I live in a process. So I was looking at the city site and it shows that we have a bicycle and pedestrian advisory committee comprehensive plan. Does anybody need a copy? Do you have a copy?
Came out with the
agenda.
packet.
But I wasn't
Agenda
sure.
packet.
Here you go. Can you send, oh, Chip got one?
An extra.
Yeah, I do have extra. Mhm. Anybody else?
Where is this again, please?
This is the Lewes Bicycle and
The
Pedestrian
Lewes
Advisory
Bicycle and
Committee.
Pedestrian Comp Plan.
Oh, I'd love to see that, actually. Do we have we support it on the screen for our
It's on the website, yeah.
viewers at home?
I imagine you can. There you are.
Okay.
Here you are, sir.
No?
Gentleman in the corner.
I'm seeing that.
Thank you, Gary.
You're welcome. I'm waiting for, oh, there you go. Look at that technology. So I noticed this on the website and I was reading it and it looks like it was developed and approved in 1989 and updated in 2005 and updated in 2010. And I just wondered if it might not be time to revisit it again. And I don't know whether that's something, Bob, you want to do tonight, or we just want to say we want to look at it and consider.
Plans that we incorporate here or define, I would say that it would be premature to revise this before we do work on our on the.
This is unrelated to the
DelDOT. Oh,
other
okay.
plan. These are not, these are unrelated.
Okay,
This is a plan approved by Mayor and City Council of the city of Lewes that speaks to our committee and what our kind of marching orders are, our plan.
right, but what?
It's unrelated
But
to
my
that.
point is, but I was expecting the the DelDOT plan would incorporate an environment that we're involved in. So after, when that plan is in place and we see who owns what in that, then we'd have more ideas about what part of that comprehensive view that we should own as a city. That was my point on this, so.
Okay, so you're recommending we wait until the DelDOT plan is done and then review this, even though they're unrelated?
Yeah, I think review this as input and while we're doing the other larger plan, I kind of saw the larger plan as being beyond this, and then this is how we fit into that. But
So if I'm correct,
This-
is the larger
yeah.
plan doing pedestrian in any way?
That is not doing pedestrian.
No.
it's just bike.
That's a
Yeah,
bicycle
if
plan.
I may, every other committee or board I've ever served on, this would not be called a comprehensive plan, it would be called a charge.
Yeah, it's charter.
Right.
The charge of the committee, why does this committee exist?
Okay.
A phrase I don't particularly care for, but it's similar to a mission statement.
Yes, similar.
All right, this is
Okay.
why, this is what the city envisioned this committee doing, whether DelDOT's doing something.
I see what you're saying. So
Yeah.
you're right then. This, our charter is defined by the city
Yeah.
and got it.
I'll speak as the mayor and say I would appreciate you refreshing this, and looking at it and seeing, you know, what dynamics have changed in the transportation and remit.
Okay.
So since it is, I don't know whether you want to talk about it tonight, whether I just wanted to see whether the committee would be open to taking a look at this and revising it. And if the committee is open to that, we can take it back and bring suggested revisions for the next meeting, Bob, however you would want to do it.
Well, my recommendation, I don't know how many committee members have read this with any regularity. My recommendation would be, all right, go home and read it, think about it, come up with your ideas. If you come up with great ideas, send an email to the members for information only. Let us know where your head is and what you're thinking about this. We can't discuss it anywhere but a meeting. And then we'll come back next go round and see what we want to do with it.
I think that's a good action.
Okay. One of my favorite items in preparation is that on sidewalks, no sign height shall be,
84 inches.
sign height along a sidewalk shall be more, the minimum shall be 84 inches from the bottom of the sign to the pavement surface. For all those that I keep running into, pretty sure it's not gonna match that. So,
Yeah, 12 years is getting a little old.
But it is aesthetic, right?
Oh, that's true. All right, so.
So
do we
we'll
need a
all,
motion to say we're gonna do that, or do we just want to do it?
I think that you can just say that you're.
All right, so this
You don't
will
need a
be
motion.
brought up in detail at the March meeting.
Yep.
Okay,
thank you.
next agenda item. Discuss what we did in 2022 and what we think we're gonna do in 2023. Again, Mary, this was your suggestion?
Well, I think I will use one different word. Again, back to living in my process world. I kind of thought it would be nice if we talked about the committee's accomplishments for 2022, because I don't know that we did that, or if we did it, perhaps I wasn't paying attention and I apologize. But I wondered if we could talk about sort of what we did in 2022. I know I wasn't on the committee for the entire time. I tried to go back and read the minutes. But could we have that brief conversation anyway? If you feel like, oh, the year was over, what'd we do? So it looks like, I know that there were, I always have 10,000 plus, but there's lots of maps that were distributed, right? Outreach, which was looping the library, farmers market, and Lewes night out, right?
Mhm.
The bike, well, I'll go with the bike rack placement on Second Street, because that conversation took place in 2022, whether the actual mayor and city council meeting took place in 23 or not. I think that, again, going backwards a little bit, I had the silent policeman. I know that the application was submitted to DelDOT in July, but I don't know what that timing was for that recommendation. So whether that should be a 2022 or not, or maybe we're gonna take it as an accomplishment once it's out there and take it that year. So I think identifying sharrows where they needed to go. I think sidewalks took place before I came on the committee, sidewalk identification for improvement. I don't know. I don't.
It got acted on in 2020.
It got acted on. Okay.
Finally, it got moving
Okay.
in 2022.
Anything else anybody thought of? I just kind of thought it would be nice to celebrate the end of the year.
I will, Andrew Williams, 107 McPhee Street. I'll point to one which was kind of brought up earlier about, I think what Bob has done this year is formalize the connection between staff and have more regular meetings. And I think that will result in more of these projects moving forward. So I think one thing as an accomplishment is this committee working more effectively with staff. So I would definitely say that's an accomplishment.
Very good. Thank
I
you.
think the biggest result, the single biggest result of that, and it actually started in November 2021, but ended up happening in 2022, is getting DelDOT's attention and getting a master plan working. I think that's, well, given previous years, I think that and the bike racks are no small feats.
Nice.
Yep. We also added the QR codes.
I just forgot about
Mhm.
those. The QR lady figured all that out.
And just to go along with the map part, because I've the one that's been distributing them, just about every one of the map holders been replaced.
Oh,
So it's a maintenance project that, the lids get torn off and whatever.
nice.
So, and I've actually repaired several bike racks in town. So,
Great. Thanks for doing that. 2023, we just talked about different things. And I don't know where everybody is. I didn't know whether there was any desire for us to have like a written work plan on what we want to do this year. Again, I don't know. I know we talked around some ideas of things that we wanted to do.
Mhm.
Again, you're stuck with me. I'm a process person, so I think something for pedestrians I wanted to bring up for this year was whether the how this committee receives, if it does, any input on from pedestrians as it relates to persons with disabilities and their input on any improvements that could be made within the city. I didn't know whether we've ever received any input or engagement with folks, or whether there might be folks we could engage, or even a future committee member or something like that.
There is a group, Mason's Mobility.
Oh, yeah.
I
Mhm.
think they actually have Sarah Carter, I think she's maybe engaged with that.
Has engaged with this committee in the past.
Well, I don't know this committee specifically, maybe Parks and Rec, but.
Okay.
I think she would be a great resource.
Okay.
Mason's Mobility,
I-
Sarah Carter.
No, I know exactly who they are. That's great. Thanks.
Where are you getting your homework?
I know, it's scary. So, and don't be mad at me when I bring this up, Bob. So, again, I'd love to see us do a citywide plan for bike racks. And in some ways, what if there was not a bike rack in the city of Lewes? Where would you put it? Where would you put them? And if that's the case, if there were no bike racks in the city of Lewes, where would you put them? Against where are they today? Do some need to be moved? Do some need to be removed altogether? Are they all visible? Are they all electric bike accessible? Integration with the Lewes line. Is there a bike rack at every stop for the Lewes line? So that somebody, are there facilities at every stop? Would just love to see, I know that bike racks should be on the beach. We know that bike racks should be in some other places. And I know that there's some funding for them this year and funding for next year. Again, just kind of stepping back and saying, big picture, this is where we think all the bike racks in the city should be. And I know it's a future agenda item, so don't shoot me now. You have a bike corral now? Is that the best place for it? What can it be repurposed for? And have that conversation as well. So kind of a whole strategy of bike parking. There you have it.
very good.
Thank you.
So just a comment on what we have and what we would like, it's also what we are allowed to put them. I'd have far more bike racks than we have in multiple locations. But the parks we're limited. Mary Vessel's Park, we have a few small racks. We could probably triple or quadruple that if we were allowed to go in there, but that is a Lewes and Bloom project, and they've taken that over pretty much. I don't know that I want to go in 1812 Park with the cannons and whatever. I think that has a uniqueness to it, but that's a great area and a high pedestrian and bicycle. I mean, a bicycle route right there. It's just.
But I would also ask, the bike racks that are currently in Mary Vessel's, are they in the right spot? Because some of them, people are in the bushes and tearing apart.
Well,
half that thing.
that's part of what I'm saying. You have no other place to put them in that
Well,
park.
but Canal Front Park has some more room. And there's other places around town where maybe they could go. I don't know. I
think the challenge with Mary Vessel's is the same issue that we have on Second Street, is that people want to be close to the
Mhm.
businesses. So if we don't provide the parking there, they're going to find their own. They'll be chained to the gazebo and.
but then maybe we have that conversation we had before, which was about enforcement. And what does that look like?
Yeah, my bike plan in my head is that in every drive, just like cars drive up to a store and they go into the store, we drive your bike up to a store and then you go and you park it and go into a store. That's not really feasible. So we're kind of opportunistic in terms of where we find them. I guess what I'd like to do with the bikes is the bike, more bike racks to me is a goal for next year, but Chip, you've done some of this canvassing of the businesses, like the real estate place that when someone's there, you know, would you like to add a bike rack to your property and have the town support it? Or I'm not sure how do we talk to people about what can we provide them? I mean, a business, if they said they'll provide some space for a bike rack, would we provide them a bike rack?
But do all the bike racks have to be on Second Street?
Well,
Could you not add another one in Zwannendale?
no,
Could you, I
no,
mean,
no, you're right, but there are the idea of having I guess a master plan in terms of just identifying the current areas that we would be able to put some, like Chip was saying, that there aren't that many areas around. Okay, but dispersed wherever people are is the.
does George H.P. Smith have bike racks?
Which,
No,
No, and that's an area where I think we could use them. When you go there on a Saturday with the
Right.
farmer's market, you will see again. Bikes chained to the fence around the playground or.
there's one long bike rack there. It's called.
Right,
fence,
it's
yeah.
called a
Yeah.
fence, right? So yeah, that's probably a place that we could,
Yeah.
I think, work with the park commissioners to figure out where the best location would be in that park.
And that's what I was, I guess, thinking is just more broadly, you know, BB, do they have bike racks? Where are they? You know,
they do have one by the hospital, yes,
but they only have one.
correct.
So would they want to add some that,
Real quick intercept here. Is there
Okay.
anything else you wanted to talk
Oh.
about for next year? What I would like to do, I have the next item 3 was a discussion about putting signage for Gills Neck Road. Signage in action. I intended to roll that into a whole discussion of bike racks. The only thing we could take action on would be signage for the bike corral. But on that line, we can move down a notch anyway and continue this discussion.
I have 2 more things for next year.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
This year.
this year.
This year.
Pardon.
Wondered if we could get regular reporting from the police. Hello. Wondered if we could get regular reporting on if there are any bicycle or pedestrian incidents or accidents that might give us information. There may or may not be any, but when they come up, when that might happen, does that information come to this committee? I don't know that answer.
Henry, is that part of the chief's regular report? We just pulled out from in a month.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we've had like
Right.
2 in the past couple of years, I think.
Yeah, it's a handful of passport bikes.
Right.
It's not a common occurrence.
Do-
It would be
Come on up.
And I'm hoping they're not common, just wondering if one does happen, does it come to this committee?
That would be something that the chief does report monthly. It can be discussed with him about specifically highlighting that. Like I said, we don't have very many instances, I mean, pedestrian or bicyclists, and not even all of them come to us. I know Station 88 responded to, what are they called? Lewes EMS responded to a pedestrian that fell on the sidewalk last weekend. We weren't notified about it. The only reason I know is they called me up and said, hey, they're blood on the sidewalk, we want us to wash down. Yeah.
Oh,
So not everything comes through us as far as pedestrians and bicycles. It's only if there's like an accident involved or a criminal matter. So we may not even have all the information regarding that stuff. I don't know the details on that pedestrian. They trip. Yeah, I mean, it could be something that can be highlighted. Pretty inoften. Like she said, I think bicycles. Here's maybe,
a good thing.
yeah, we don't have a whole lot of them. And then pedestrians even less, so.
Okay, thank you.
Would you be able to just speak about the difficulties of or ideas around enforcing bike parking?
Yeah, so bike parking is not quite as simple as car parking. Bikes aren't registered. You know, we see a bike there. I mean, I can't write a ticket for a specific individual. And then how do you enforce something that you have no way of following up on? Apart from seizing it or having somebody stand there watching those bikes, there's not a whole lot we can do to enforce it.
Right. And that is what, one of the things that Dennis brought up was coming up with like either I mean, and he talked to, I guess, the University of Delaware. And I don't know if he talked to Newark, but I know he talked to the university and the university police. If a bike is chained to something it's not supposed to be chained to,
They probably seize it.
they seize it. Our code would need to be changed to do that, but there's also the, okay, now you've seized all these bikes, where do you put them? How do you, there's a,
Yeah, it's not.
I know Dennis Dennis has talked about it, and I mean, because there are issues, but
Can I ask you a question?
Well, I think that-
regarding that, apart from seizing it, we talked before about putting a lock on it.
like booting
And with
it.
a note saying, come to the police department for the key and give us $5 or something. Is that a feasible thing?
Everything's feasible if you got the manpower and the money. I mean, that's what
Right.
it boils down to. So you're gonna have an individual go around, boot them, whether it be an officer or parking enforcement. That means you also have somebody standing at the station or at least on standby to
Right.
go back and respond to that. If you have a weekend where it's the off season, because we still are doing ticketing and stuff on the off season. I think Dennis and them are coming in occasionally during the week.
Yeah, Dennis works 20 hours a week and then he brings others in.
If you boot it and the person comes in after parking enforcement leaves and you got night shift work and they're out at BB Hospital handing a complaint, you don't know how long it's going to be for that person to get their bike back. So there's the issue of, okay, we seize their bike. Yeah, you got to pay $5 to get it back. We may not have somebody available when you come to the station.
Right.
We run into that issue with parking tickets now. We tell them come back Monday through Friday or during normal business hours.
But I guess we could do that and say, put a sign on, say between 8 and 5, you can get your bike, you can get your bike unlocked. You shouldn't have parked it here and use that for egregious situations. That might be Chip that you would.
Or we could do something less dramatic and put some sort of like the hang tag idea or something like that we have.
Dennis and his guys do that, don't they?
You have it.
That works good, right? Chip?
You have a hang tag?
They have a hang tag and they'll put it on bikes when they're,
What does it say?
I think it says that you're supposed to use the bike racks and
Oh, I've never seen one.
I'll ask Dennis for a copy.
Do they have them?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, there's probably 1,000 of them upstairs.
oh, okay.
In the past, some of them committee members have been putting them on cars,
Oh,
not cars, excuse me, bicycles.
oh, okay.
But you
Thank
don't
you.
want to be close to the owner when you do it.
Okay. Well, I don't know what it says. I was hoping it might be kinder or gentler. Anyway, and last item, and then I promise to be done, which is I really do think that we should enhance the city's bike ped page on its website. If it speaks to this committee, it lists the members' names, which is lovely. But if you look at Rehoboth's bike ped page, it gives all the rules and regs, it gives tips, it tells you everything. And I think it'd be a lovely addition to the city's website.
That might be one of those hang tags.
Oh, I know.
Is it?
Yeah.
It doesn't tell you you can't park there.
No, it just tells you go park somewhere else. I think.
It doesn't even tell you that.
No, I think the other side showed you where to.
Right.
Yeah, that's one of them.
Maybe
That's it.
needs to be a little more direct.
Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, very good. Now, continuing with bike racks, and we'll do that, and then we'll talk about the signage. Want to congratulate Chip and Glenn. We got some new bike racks coming on Second Street. That is a big plus. Didn't get them on market, but that's, I think we're still batting way over 500, even if the statistics don't say so. But
It's great.
that was kind of put together that way. That was a toe in the door, so to speak, to the whole issue, at least in my opinion. And I think that's kind of what we figured, to the whole issue of bike racks. So it's not over and done with, and there's money hopefully coming through. But yeah, we can look over all kinds of places to put bike racks. And it's an ongoing process. So I cruised around to get ready for the MAP meeting. I was running around trying to find bike racks everywhere I could find them in the city. I don't think there's one between Roosevelt Inlet and Beach One.
I think you're probably right.
I thought there was supposed to be some at the crossovers on Bay.
Don
Avenue.
had talked to us, but I don't think we ever closed the loop. I don't think we ever like got to exactly where they were gonna go and what rack, what they were gonna, what type of rack we were gonna use.
Well, they didn't go because they're not
Right.
there. So
Right.
lots of other places. I also found a number, you brought up the businesses, a number of businesses have their own racks.
Mm-hmm.
I think Rite Aid's got some, Lloyd's has got some. Okay, what's our input into what some business wants to do on their private property with a private rack? I would think it would be just about none.
I disagree with that.
Yeah,
Why wouldn't it be a good idea and we could bring it up to them? I
well,
mean,
you can suggest anything you want, but
but isn't that our
Should-
job to make? it-
yeah. But I was thinking more in terms of, okay, Rite Aid's got a bike rack.
Right?
Should we encourage people to park at Rite Aid and then walk to BB Hospital? BB's got some somewhere. I
Is your
think- I think
question,
there's
should we
difference
put the
between
bike racks?
public bike racks and private property bike racks.
Is your question, should we put private property bike racks on the map?
Well, that was what started it. But when somebody with private property puts their own bike rack on it, do we encourage people to park there or park their bikes there? Now, you can always go to a business and maybe the gentleman from the Second Street, if you want to throw your hat in the ring with this.
So I'll walk up just because I don't want to get yelled at. So Bill Davis, 104 Second Street. So, and I'm probably going to digress a little bit here. I keep hearing about putting out bike racks and all this stuff.
Sure.
And to your point, I think the issue is right now is, we're putting this out for renters in their papers. Nobody looks at this stuff. I can tell you 3 weeks ago, I guess it was or so, we had about 15 bikes parked in front of our driveway. And they park them there, they lock them up and they walk away. So now by the time I get out there, they're out town walking around. The enforcement on them, is next to impossible because we don't want to hire 50 more officers that are going to go out there and boot bikes that now are going to be just left there because instead of me paying the $5, I'll just leave the bike and go get a new one because they're not worth much anymore anyhow. I think you guys have an enormous task here. And maybe you got to stop looking from a bunch of people that ride bikes and do the right things and look for the bike racks to the people that are coming into town that lock them to the first tree they see. And how you do that? I'm not there, so I do not have that idea, but, you know, I can take you any week of the year and find you bikes that are locked up.
Are the 15 bikes, is that normal or cause that?
No, it was just a big group of people that came in together. There's cross hatching, which that's a whole nother argument for me. She's heard it before, Andrew's heard it, and so is the previous parent, everybody else. But it's a loading zone to everybody else.
Right.
The fact that there's a driveway there is irrelevant. So it's just a convenient place to put bikes. Even where you guys are putting bike racks down the end of the street in front of Half Full, I am so interested to see what the result of that is.
Yeah.
Because people don't always put their bike in the rack, they'll put it next to the rack and everything else, and you know. I just think you guys have an enormous task. I think you really need to look at putting together what your charge is, because I look at that paper that's maybe a charge, maybe not a charge. But yet it has specifics in there, so if those specifics are a charge, then why aren't they being followed? So, anything else you got questions?
My question, so what would you have liked to have done when you with the 15 bike? I mean, what's your recommendation, or do you have, what's your?
I don't have a recommendation. So my wife had knee surgery last year. I had back surgery. We're coming into our place. We live there. So it's not just our business. We bought that house to live there. And I can't get in and out of my driveway. My people that are agents can't get in and out of my driveway. So you don't want to hear what my response is. Just pick them all up, throw them in the back of a city truck and take them down to the new place down there, and nobody's using it. So just dump them in the back until somebody does something. But you know, I don't know. We have to also keep in mind that we are a vacation town, that we are, you know, second hometown. So you want people to keep coming back. So, you know, just going out and picking everybody off day one is not the answer either.
Bill, to go along with what you're saying there, the addition of the bike racks on Second Street was a step for us. We felt as a committee that it was a big need, because we needed more downtown bike parking to help alleviate what you're referring to. I know myself that is probably not going to be enough because of the amount of bikes, but hopefully through providing more visible racks in a downtown location, education, reaching out to let them know that we do not want you to park in front of your driveway or against this lamppost or whatever, as a concerned effort that we can do this. We realize this is tough. Downtown parking for vehicles, bicycles is tough. It's tough, but this is.
And I understand that, and I appreciate that. But what I'm saying is, those people that parked in front of our driveway, I mean, that's just an example because
Sure.
it was a big crowd.
Yeah.
You got people all the time. They never went down further on the street.
Right.
So they're not looking for a place to park their bikes. They're just, here's a place to park our bikes. So I think that's where you guys really have a hard charge, because how do you get them knowing when they're coming into town that, look, there is designated places to put their bikes and stuff.
I would think that if some selective booting word might get out, that
So, but you're gonna boot them, do you take them? Do you leave them sit there?
Yeah, the problem with shooting is, you know, we've had times where people have changed their bike to something where it's obstructing well, in your case, the driveway or the ADA ramp. So if you boot it, you're leaving that situation there for longer than it otherwise would be. So that, you know, so, I mean,
I wouldn't, yeah.
But I guess my question is,
It's a good opportunity to partner with the businesses downtown. We can provide them some marketing material that says,
Right.
you
Yeah.
find a rack and be accommodating to the rest of our shoppers by racking your bike. Like maybe
Right.
a clever slogan to remind people that
Right.
you put signage in these businesses that say rack your bike or as a courtesy. you know, something along those lines, and then it gets, hey, did you hear? It's an easy, clever slogan, though. That's not me. I don't.
I guess my question.
I wouldn't be the mayor of Lewes.
Why is that?
I think if we had every 10th parking place was a bike rack, that we wouldn't have this problem
Right.
either. And I think.
Rehoboth has a ton of bike racks throughout.
But
town.
Rehoboth does not have this sidewalk problem. So the question is, why do they have it? Why don't they have it?
Rehoboth has great bump outs where they have bike racks on every bump out corner.
Right?
Every street at the boardwalk has multiple bike racks. So I said last time they have 50. I bet they have 200
Yeah.
bike racks.
Right.
So that's why,
And they're just about everywhere. So
yeah, they are.
you don't have the issue where, you know, ours is kind of midway down Second Street. So if you're going to go to maybe a business next to his residence, you might decide you don't want to go all the way down there. And
And part of the,
So it-
excuse me, the scale of Second Street
right.
is much what I consider quaint.
Mhm.
Outside is quaint, whereas you go to Rehoboth. To me, when I'm in Rehoboth, it reminds
huge.
me of a city that's been redesigned. And the right of ways are much wider, the sidewalks are much wider. And therefore, this kind of infrastructure, the accommodations are on a larger scale.
So did I understand the mayor and city council meeting correctly? That by taking that parking space in front of Shore Break, essentially,
Yeah.
that the loss of parking revenue was $1,250?
Right.
Mhm.
$1,200. Okay, which is
So,
not gonna break the city, the 1,250. 12,
Put you
whatever.
down for 1,200.
Again, you can raise $1,200.
excuse me, Mary, can we let her?
Oh, no, go ahead, go ahead.
Okay.
Sure. No, go ahead. Go ahead, Mary.
So I guess my question is if you really want more bikes and less cars, why not take more parking spaces off of Second Street?
I think the, well,
You
I
don't
think
need $1,200.
I think merchants would be very upset if we took
The other one.
more parking spaces. I think taking one is you're trimming on the margins, but I think if you start really taking, you know, people are still upset that we didn't build a parking garage.
But people also, so then you're saying that people that ride their bikes aren't spending any money and they're not going anywhere.
I'm telling you that the issue of downtown parking for vehicles is a constant issue that comes up among the business community, visitors to the downtown. I think the Cape Gazette wrote a couple years ago that we don't have a parking problem, we have a walking problem. I think there's probably some truth to that, but I don't see taking a lot of parking out of the inventory to replace it with bike parking as something that would go over well. I think that this one was strategic and it worked, but I think if we tried to do a big effort, I just see a revolt.
Please.
Hi, Christine Davis, 104 Second Street. So my only thought was, and I think you're gonna get to this, is I have personally never noticed the corrals, I guess is what you call them, at Gills Neck,
Mhm.
overflowing with bikes.
It never is.
The space is there already. It's just how do we get people to know that that's where they want to go? And I think people are just lazy, even though they're riding a bike. I think it's like, I want to go to this store, I'm going to park here. I want to go to this store, I'm going to park here. But I don't know if there's a sign, maybe I've just never paid attention enough to it. Is there a sign coming into town that says, or where they would be coming from on their bicycle parking here? Like maybe when they're coming off the trail?
There is a sign right at the corral. It says bike
But
parking.
I mean, coming from, like, not where the parking is, but if they're coming into town before they get there and they're thinking, oh, I want to stop in town for a little bit. Where am I going to park? Maybe when they're coming off by the bridge, where they just took the trestle away. Yeah, maybe coming off of there, or I don't know. That was just a thought. And then my other thought, kind of not related, but is related, is I don't know if you guys have ever reached out to, I'm trying to find it. Delaware Bike Party, I think is what they're called. They're the ones that organize that night ride. Delaware Beach Bike Party just to get their thoughts, they have
What is their name?
1,700 members on Facebook, called Delaware Beach Bike Party. And they're all about, you know, following the rules and doing everything, but maybe if you reached out to them to get their input, because they do group rides.
Just to speak on that, that was by Brian down at Lewes Cycle.
The Lewes Lights, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's just maybe they're
Okay.
just promoting it on their.
And just
Could be.
Brian's viewpoint would be, there would be no vehicle parking on Second
Oh, right.
Street. It would be all bicycles.
Which is not realistic, but.
No, but that's where that's going.
But
No.
maybe just from a signage standpoint, because they are out and about all over the place and we're just avid, like, we don't ride our bikes that often. When we do, we're not like the serious ones, so. But we do try to park in a corral, so. Anyway,
Thank
I
you.
think that was all I had. Thank you for your.
Thank
time.
you, and thank you for the excellent segue to the item in item 3, signage.
Well, this
Wanna go
will
for it, Chip?
piggyback on what you, because I asked for this to be put on the agenda. As we got the parking for Second Street, I do realize that the corral is underutilized. And how can we get more word out there that this is downtown bike parking? And I almost want to do it. I don't want to get obnoxious with it, but you need to get people's attention. And I'm going to use a reference of Pedro says south of the border. You know you're coming to it. When you're coming down the trails, can there be something that's going to earmark it downtown parking here? Both the Breakwater and the Georgetown Trail. That is going to tell those people coming in that there's downtown parking before they get into downtown. We can do signage at the kiosks.
Yeah, not when they get there, but
Right.
While they're on the trail.
So, and this is just because I spew stuff out of my head and also, but you guys are also talking about doing these little things on the street that say, you know, your little bike lanes and stuff. Could you incorporate something like that where you're at Savannah next to the Warrendale and you're coming this way on that little section and it says like parking or something?
Could you put it
You
on
know,
the
if they're
street?
bright enough and they're little greens that I'm looking at on those pictures with those little things.
I think one of the challenges with the corral is it's at one of the most unsafe intersections in Lewes. I
Yeah.
mean, that intersection is horrible for pedestrians, for cyclists, and so it's not really user friendly. I think the other side is there's usually vehicles parked in it as well, BPW or somebody else's
Mhm.
vehicles that are in it. So it doesn't really scream.
But you rode your bike to that point. So how unsafe are the roads to that point if you're gonna cross that road?
Well, so I'm not sure.
Because you're
it's-
safer on the roads than you are at that
But
intersection.
I'll tell you, and this is something I did bring up to our consulting team on the bike master plan. When I come off the trail, if I'm coming downtown, I do not go to Gills Neck Road. Even if I'm coming off Junction Breakwater, I will go up to Schley Avenue and come across to Kings Highway because it is much safer than riding on. So I think to your point, if you've decided that Gills Neck Road is not where you want to ride, it is not aside from signage, I think you do bring up a pretty good issue. But I'm not sure what to do about it because I don't know that we have anywhere else we could put a bike corral.
And I'll agree with that, exactly what you're saying, because I live right there and the amount of people that come up and down our street now is 100 times full what it was before the trail, literally, because they're doing the same thing. And Mary, to your point, the intersection is bad and we all realize that, but there are pedestrian buttons
Mhm.
for people that abide by the law can get safely across that street. It's the people that don't that create the havoc, the bicyclists that blow right through there. They're the ones, the people that stop and use the buttons, abide by the red light. It's safe. The worst part is Gills Neck Road in itself.
Well, I think I agree with you. I think that hopefully the plan will look at things because I think the placement of the don't turn on red signs are not where they should be. The buttons don't work like they should all the time. They're delayed. So I think there's a lot of aspects to that intersection that could make it safer.
Agreed.
So I think there's all sorts of pieces to it.
Sure.
But I think also if you really want people to park there and it's a downtown parking, maybe it's got to have a kitsch to it of something. Maybe it's got to have something to it. You can't have vehicles parked in it and it's got to have something to it.
The problem is the major pump station in town that takes all of the effluent from this side of the canal across the canal is there. So we can't get around the fact that BPW is going to have to park there to do maintenance work on the pump station. I think that's.
It
How
might,
much of the corral do they take? Is it more than
They-
one truck? or-
It's not,
Yes.
they don't take necessarily the bicycle parking, but it's like the corral kind of spills into that larger driveway area next to it. So visually, I think it affects the visibility of the corral.
Could paint on the asphalt?
It's gravel.
Oh, that's hard to paint.
Yeah, we've done it. It's really.
maybe there's a way you could benefit by parking there. Like,
Incentivize it.
yeah, incentivize. If you park there, you get 5% off. It's such and such. If there's a way to at least start to get people, because it might be that, oh, it's too far for me. I don't want to park over there. But maybe if I parked there once or twice, I would realize that it's not that far. So maybe if there is a way to incentivize it even for a month or something where I don't know, you know, how if you have the police, if kids have helmets on, they get something at the Dairy Queen. Maybe there's a way to incentivize people to park there.
I would be all for that, sure. Anything that we can do to make an existing lot that we have work, whatever it would take.
Maybe we could do valet parking,
There you go.
valet bike parking on Second Street.
I mean, what-
Lewes line can stop there and then bring it.
Tim, you don't mind running the bikes over, do you?
Yeah, not at all.
I mean, I think one of the things
I mean,
is still recognizing that BPW needs to access the pump station. There are probably things we could do to beautify it. To make it not look like a pump station parking lot.
afterthought.
But I do think it's gonna have to, you're gonna have to, the only thing I can think of, signage have to let cyclists know where it is. Like I said, I do the same thing. If I'm going from my house on the beach to either the Breakwater Junction or the Lewes Georgetown Trail, I go over the Savannah Road Bridge. Well, everybody does now, but I go over that and I go up to stay on Savannah Road and go up Kings Highway and get over to the trailhead that way.
Can I read Tom Spell's comment?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Chief Spell said, just as a reminder for the committee, we have almost no vehicle versus bike accident statistics. The ones we do have are usually the bicyclist at fault, to Chip's point. So he put that in a
Thank
couple
you.
of minutes ago, so I don't know.
I don't know any way but signage that could, and are people gonna do it? Who knows? But if they don't know it's there, if you're coming into town, on
Right.
Savannah Road. Oh, there's Second Street. Second
Right.
Street, I think, is the draw where our biggest parking problems are. If you don't know it's there, you're not going over there. And of all our parking, the bike corral is the second closest to Second Street. It's closer than if they put a bunch of bike racks in Canal Front Park. I mean, it's a tremendous resource if we can get people to park there. Now, any idea to make them do it? I think the 5% off is good. Well, driving by, I can stop on Gills Neck Road. My wife can run in there and get a little ticket and then we'll go someplace and get 5% off.
So you get one of your business people.
Yeah.
Touch Italy or whoever, and you get them to sponsor it for a month where they get, your 5% off or whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Then you get a business sponsorship, you take a picture of your bike locked up, take it in, show the business.
I don't know how you
Might work.
show that you did it.
Tim,
You know the drill.
Around.
What I was gonna remind you all of is that this past summer, this past season, the usage of the corral was much greater than in other previous years.
Right.
And what I would ask you all to ask yourselves is what drove that traffic that to the corral this past year? I'm not sure. I can't answer that question, but
Tim, I'll just speak on that.
okay.
Every year, the bikes double or triple. I mean, it's just in mass quantity.
No, I understand, but I'm talking about the people who are actually using the corral.
Just because there's just that many more. Say there was, say there was
straight.
in 5 in 2019, then there's 10, just because there's. I mean, I don't know how many come into town. And I don't even know how we could even get track of that, but thousands is not unrealistic.
I understand your point.
So just in quantity.
I see. So in effect, it's a spillage effect. Some responsible bike riders are saying, you know, all the racks are filled, but there is that place over there at the corner. I can park it there and put it in a rack. Is that what you're suggesting?
Yeah.
Is that what you're suggesting?
No, I'm not suggesting that. I'm saying they found a place to put their bike because people that come into town don't go back there. They go to the nearest lamppost or the tree or whatever.
Okay, then how do we
But if
how do
you-
we explain the more usage of the corral during
It's just because of mass sheer
just
numbers,
numbers?
just sheer numbers.
Okay,
But to your point, if you are coming in on Savannah Road and you don't know it exists, you're gonna make a left on Second and
Yep.
find a place to park.
right.
So whether we can get people to agree to south of the border is one thing.
I think we're kind of addressing, this is never gonna work unless we have distributed bike parking in a bunch of places around, and we have to squeeze in some more bikes. I mean, it's. You're always gonna have people chaining your bike up unless they can find it, just like cars like to park close to the place, the bikes do too.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
Chip needs to find more places to put bike racks. I think
And
that's it.
I seriously, I understand that it's controversial, but I seriously think the city needs to give consideration to another parking spot.
I would, if we need to get the bank to do the multi-parking on the multi-level parking behind the bank and then close off Second Street, we have no issue.
But engineering wise,
Yeah.
that space, I know a lot of people have said that that would be a great space for a parking garage. But
It's too small.
it's too small. There, you don't have you know, the ability to have the maneuvering and, right.
Yeah, what, 8 spots on each level or
Right.
something when it's done.
And that's aside from the fact that the bank isn't interested in that.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But just to go on, Bob, I mean,
Mhm.
again, I'm open to any suggestions to how to attract people. The kiosk that we have there has a map in it. That's now so faded you can barely read it. I think that would be a great thing to put there, downtown bike parking here,
Big sign.
big, the
Big letter.
the full,
Mhm.
what that glass is, if it's 3x4 or whatever it is.
How about the park? There's the signs that you have, like the signs that are going out at Johnny Walker Beach and others, the big signs that like you have at 1812 and other places. The big city signs that say, why couldn't you have one that said bike parking? I mean, because truly, I don't think people are gonna look in the kiosk. You need something you're gonna see
There's a kiosk at the bike parking.
at the corral.
It already exists.
Right.
It would just be,
Yeah.
it's there already.
Yeah, they've already.
But what-
there.
I don't know, what I would think is Gills Neck Road could have a sign. I don't know how big they've got to be. It's just something that says downtown bike parking with an arrow. Maybe on Gills Neck, maybe on Kings Highway coming in. Maybe on Savannah, and maybe, well, there wouldn't be that much reason for Pilot Town Road, because anybody coming in that way would have been through town
Right.
already. It might, a relatively small expense of 3 signs, 3 or 4 signs, might get better usage out of that. What's your thought?
Worth a try.
I'm certainly open to it. And like Mary was saying, what kind of pop,
It's,
what kind of pop do we need there to catch people's?
Yeah.
It's, I mean, can we paint them green? Can we do different colors?
Yeah.
Can we make it more vibrant? Does the public art committee want to do something there to make it,
Great idea.
to make it stand out? I mean, all the racks are.
Corrals, different colors. They
Well,
could be-
for the question at the art committee, that's not a bad idea.
Psychedelic bike.
yeah.
There you go.
Something that gets your attention.
Yeah.
Right.
Nice if they weren't all
Black, they're all
You are also in a historic.
And we talked about that.
Oh, we break.
We talked about that when I was ex officio to this committee about bringing art. I'm just gonna pull a chair out.
Sit down at the table.
When I was ex officio to this committee, we talked about the idea of bringing art into the signage of the bike assets, you know, the parking lots and so forth. And also the bike racks themselves. So this idea, you know, has been discussed and I thought it was embraced before, but maybe I'm.
It was in one of the many things years ago that won't happen
Well, it wasn't that
anymore.
many years ago.
Just kind of rolled into the ethernet
Well,
somewhat.
I thought that there was
But-
some coordination with the
There was.
public art committee about fabricating a bike rack and
That's
then
true.
Yeah,
I don't
But it
know.
never went anywhere.
And Heidi Lowe did
Right.
design work. And I can't speak to what happened after that, but I
Yeah,
know
I
she did
can't-
design. work.
Right.
Somebody needs to go to the head of that committee and discuss it.
well.
I'll be happy to do that. I'm ex
Yeah,
officio on that.
that
Okay.
bike rack position, and they were also at the time talking about having to put a sign on a little alleyway next to M&T to show people where the bike rack was, would, what,
If it had been put there.
if it had been put there and the public art committee was gonna get involved in the design of the sign.
And all that was the.
And all
groundwork was
that
laid for
stuff
that.
sort of happened, but it just never found its way back to this committee or came to fruition.
Right.
Right,
And I think we have to be careful. I absolutely agree with everything we're talking about,
Mhm.
but I think we have to be careful when we're talking about adding signage because we got sign pollution to start with.
I know, that was an issue then, and it still is now.
And we need to,
The Nectar's has a sign, don't park here. That sign should say park. Tell them why they should park, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So,
question for you all.
are you getting your exercise? Is that?
Do I understand with the map, the printed map as well as the QR, right? Is the corral highlighted in those two?
It is on the current map, and as I said, we're having a meeting on Friday to start working on the new, and definitely all the bike racks. At least all the city public bike racks will be annotated on the map.
And another suggestion, idea is that I think there's in your bike committee website, if you will, that if photographs, if you can support your initiatives with photographs, you know, your bike racks, the corral, so forth. The locations of the racks, once they're placed, that could be very helpful also.
This would be for users, bike riders and.
Sure, anyone who
Yeah.
accesses that website to understand what's available, and I would think,
That's something
thank you.
I know nothing about. Maybe I should get educated about who uses it and what's on that website. There's not much on the city,
Right.
but,
No.
okay. Anything else?
No, good.
Just want to kick it around? Anything else on this whole topic? All right, last item on the agenda, discussion possible action on appointment of officers. According to the bylaws, a copy of our bylaws was included in your packet. And if you look at items 6, 7, and 8. This is what we're supposed to do. Couple administrative items before we decide if we're going to fool with this. John McGovern has opted not to be reappointed to the committee, which is why he's not here tonight. The mayor and council have not appointed a new member. I understand by our next meeting, we will have our new member. So right now we are a committee of 4. So we'll have one more coming. And if you look here at everything we're supposed to accomplish, I was informed tonight that we really don't have to do this tonight, even though it says it's supposed to be at our first administrative meeting. Anybody have any feeling if we want to do this later or now, or wait till we get a new member?
I say just get it done and knock it off. I vote for you to
Okay.
be the chairman.
All right, we have 3 positions, chairman, nominations.
I nominate.
Well, wait,
Oh, wait, what?
Wait.
Huh?
number 6 says that we have 3 positions, but there is no secretary position any longer because it's done through the city. So
Well,
The secretary is, who'd you tell me was?
so the recording secretary is Jackie Darty, but the other committees that have a secretary role, they still appoint somebody to that, and that person typically proofs the minutes before they go out. And it's more ceremonial.
oh, okay,
but-
didn't know that. Okay.
I didn't either. There's my new factoid. I've been a lot of factoids today. All right, we'll start from the top.
Sorry about
down.
that.
Nominations for chairman. Okay, Glenn threw one out.
I second it.
There you go.
All in favor?
Aye.
Oh, well, all right, thank
Oh,
you.
well.
Appreciate it. Okay, vice chairman.
Who's the vice chair?
We don't have one. Honestly, my thoughts, and see if you guys like that. You notice there's only 3 things the chairman does. And the one person who knows who knows more about the agenda than I do, who can communicate with the mayor and council when necessary, is actually not a member of the committee. It's Janet. We'd have to talk to her. She chairs one city committee already.
Yeah, keep talking.
And could see if she would be willing, or does one of the other 3 here want
A
the
staff member would chair the committee?
vice chair?
Vice-
And yeah, we have a staff member now chairing a city committee.
What is that committee?
Parks and
Parks and
Recreation
Rec.
Commission.
And Janet.
I think
chairs.
that's unusual
Correct.
and it's against the bylaws, so.
Hmm.
I don't understand that.
Yeah, it was just a thought.
I nominate Chip.
I don't understand.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, there's our vice chair.
Opposed.
You're out voting. All right, secretary. There's only 2 of you left.
Glenn.
I nominate Mary.
Yeah, I don't think being the only woman on the committee making me secretary looks good, so I
Okay,
think we
so-
make it Glenn. Mhm.
Okay, so as secretary, I think,
Glenn,
if I was secretary, I would allow Janet to work in my stead for that. I mean, doesn't she does this already, correct?
Well, Jackie does the minutes.
Jackie does the minutes. You would just.
So really,
basically
you don't have to do
approve them.
much. I mean, you would look at the minutes. Make
Ah,
sure- Make
Okay,
sure there aren't any.
I guess. I
All
can
right,
do that.
so our annual organizational meeting is done.
Wait, did I have an official vote, a nomination?
Oh, okay, well,
I've never been nominated before.
Yeah, you were. okay, well, I nominate Glenn. All in favor? Aye,
Aye.
there you go.
Okay.
You're elected. Very well. Anybody have anything else? Anybody out? Have anything else?
I did real quick, Bob.
Yeah.
I attended a priority meeting this morning.
Hmm.
And I don't know if that'll come up on YouTube. Do you know? Was it?
It was streamed on YouTube.
It
so
was?
Out there, yeah.
Okay, because I was trying, I was trying to get the BPW one up. And I don't know if that one ever came up.
Last night?
Yeah.
It was on YouTube, yeah.
Okay, because I couldn't get it today. I
Yeah,
tried.
It's, I don't think it is. I agree with Chip, my neighbors been saying that. There's something.
You know what? Josh tends to edit them, so he might have taken it down so he could edit.
Not yet.
He edits out the beginning and the end. He puts like a
Doesn't mean
little
you can't
music
back
at the beginning. So he might have taken it down to do that.
He's a frustrated producer.
Anyway, real quick, there was a lot of discussion about bike and ped at the priority meeting. And it was very early in the meeting. If you go on YouTube, I recommend looking at it rather than me trying to go over everything that was discussed. Some of the,
chairman now, so you really should.
Go over it now?
All right.
Well, let's see.
What group was this that had the meeting?
It was the mayor and city council had a priority meeting for 2023.
Earlier today, you're saying.
Thank you. And
Thank you.
That was on earlier today.
it was this morning, 9 o'clock.
Thank you.
There's various topics and some are short term and some are long term. And some of the bike ped things were discussed at the meeting. Specifically, the bike and pedestrians over the canal is a long-term project, and long-term is defined as 2 to 4 years.
Oh, wow.
So that,
It would be nice in 2 to 4 years, but.
well, I'm just,
Then there's reality.
I wrote it down.
Yeah, you're right.
That's what was put in
Factually
there, so
correct.
that either something new could be in the works, and maybe this will come up through the master plan, or something be done to the Savannah Road Bridge to help accommodate bicycle and pedestrian traffic. There was talk about ADA ramps, sidewalk ramps throughout the city was another topic. There was also talk about grants that we did get a grant for the low stress. But maybe that's something we need as a committee to look at. What can we get from a grant or a fund or whatever that we might be able to utilize for us. This condition of the Second Street sidewalk was brought up. The tripping hazards on there. And those are the things that I've written down. Oh, one other interesting thing, and it's kind of bicycle pedestrian labor, pedestrian also, was a water taxi. Now that Rehoboth has a dock and we have a dock, it's kind of moving people from Lewes to Rehoboth and vice versa. It's also, I think that's a great idea. So it's a way to get people off the highway. You know, you could ride your bike to the bike corral and hop on up.
Yeah,
Water
there's an
taxi.
existing water taxi, so
Yeah.
that would be great.
Well, I don't know that there was one that would run like they're talking about this one, but that's just, but anyway, I suggest if it does come up on YouTube, pull it up
Okay.
and then you can review it. And that's all I got, Bob.
Thank you. Anything else?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Not yet.
Oh.
Next meeting, Tuesday, March 28th, 4:00,
4 o'clock?
18.
And
6
I will
o'clock.
not be here.
Okay.
So.
Be that way.
away that week.
Okay,
All right, now, motion,
motion to adjourn.
March 28th.
all in favor?
Aye.
God.
Mhm.
Okay.
Bob, I hope you continue to heal.
Absolutely.
Yes,
I am tickled to death with the way it's going in
that's good.
3 weeks and so is the surgeon, so are the therapists, the physical therapists. My other therapists have given up